Good afternoon. Let me introduce you all to one of the known faces of our fraternity, CA Kartik Radia, sir. He is the CEO and managing partner at CLA Global Indus Value Consulting. He has more than 25 years of experience in consulting services and has worked for 9 years for big firms like PwC as a senior partner at PwC in advisory services. In other 9 years, he has worked with the largest firms after Big Four and led the advisory service line at the firm and was an executive board member for a period of 3 years. But lately, for last 4.5 years, Kartik sir has been the CEO and managing partner of the firm that he is the founder of, along with 20 plus members. He has been in the sector of business and advisory, which comprises of cybersecurity, data protection, forensic investigations, and the list goes on. He has global experience in several countries across the world, which includes USA, Canada, Brazil, UK, Japan, and even this list goes on. Kartik sir believes that any consulting term that must add real value should focus on its implementation and effectiveness. I'm pretty sure we all can learn so much from him related to our profession and business ideas. So, a CA, a CS, CMA, Certified Information System Auditor, and a Certified Internal Auditor. Let's give it up for CA Kartik Radia, sir. Please welcome, sir. I would like to request sir to share his experience and share a few words on the stage.
So first of all, very good afternoon to all of you. It's really nice to see all of you assembled here as the students of one of the vibrant professions of our country, the chartered accountancy profession. And I do recollect my student journey probably more than 22, 23 years ago, when I was pursuing chartered accountancy course, qualified in 2002 precisely. And it reminds me of those days. Of course, we didn't have the facilities of these kinds. We didn't have also, the opportunities to come and present as students on different subjects. So this is brilliant, and I think it's a wonderful initiative by Vikasa and by WIRC and by the Institute overall. So I also commend, Aryan, Kashish and Zeel for the wonderful presentations that they have made. So each one of them actually touched upon different facets of auditing and different facets of the expectations from the audit profession. And I think all of them covered some of the meaningful perspectives on where the expectations of auditing is heading. Friends, I would just want to add a little summary to all that have been presented, and probably in that context, I would like to also go beyond the 3 topics that we had, which were on risk analysis and internal controls, forensic auditing, and loopholes in the audit process. While these were the 3 topics, it is important in this context to also know where do we stand as a country in terms of auditing profession? Where does our institute stand? I think one of the regional council members, Ketan Bhai, spoke about the reciprocity with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Singapore. I think that is relevant. And therefore, in that context, it's important to even evaluate where does the overall profession stand. And also about, I think the presentation on forensic was very nice. It's one of the service line that I have come from personally, as a ranked partner before, handling the firm as a managing partner, as a CEO, which has a team of 20 plus partners. But forensic is something which I did personally for a few years, and in that context, I'd like to just correct a little bit. In fact, the Satyam fraud that was mentioned, I don't think that was the largest or the biggest fraud of India. I think as it stands today, it's the 3rd largest fraud. There were 2 other frauds. I think you had covered the other fraud also, which was one of the largest privately held companies fraud. And there was one more, which I would like not to name it, but there was one more which involved multi-billion dollars, probably to the tune of 90,000 crores plus. I think all of these have happened after Satyam. I think we have moved a long way after and beyond Satyam. So, coming to auditing of the new age and new and old, right? Auditing, I would say auditing of a gold standard. And this is very, very important for the people who take up auditing as a profession and who even take up some of the other areas para to auditing, like internal auditing and like forensic auditing. They all have emerged from auditing overall. So auditing of a new age, auditing of a gold standard, new, old. People say old is gold, and I'm always going to say auditing of a gold standard. It's very, very important. While I think one of the session speakers also covered about the expectations and loopholes of audit, it said that audit is not going to give you an absolute assurance. I think someone also said that auditor is not a bloodhound, but let me tell you, as it is evolving, the auditing of a gold standard expectation is that you need to discover all the kinds of wrongdoing. Though, I think from a regulatory and a legal standpoint, you may have a protection to say, look, I followed all my auditing procedures and all my auditing standards. But auditing of a gold standard would question you if you have not discovered some elements which ought to have got discovered. You may prove a point in defense to say, look, I did my job and I was not a bloodhound, I was just an auditor. But as it is evolving, as the standards are getting framed and developed, as the things are evolving, let me tell you that the standard of gold is what is the expectation. When I say standard of gold, basically auditing against the standard of gold. You know, currency, for example, currency backed by the standard of gold, right? And the principles overall will not change, but the standards will keep evolving. And, you know, as 100% assurance is not what is required and admitted, but I think there is a need to evolve the sampling beyond just some kinds of sampling that we have been doing, going into near about 100% review. Not anything can go wrong. So the machinery, also the way the machinery exists today, if there's anything that goes wrong, the question that comes in, who are the auditors? What did the auditor look at? Did he do his job well? And I think all the kinds, before any kind of a legal trial starts or a courtroom trial starts, I think there's a media trial that will start and will already make some judgments. I think this is very, very important from a reputation standpoint. So, auditing of a gold standard, as I say, will require you to do several things beyond just saying that, look, I did my processes and I documented what I did. I think it's a lot. And let me tell you, India is a country where maximum amount of capital is flowing in, and most of the things are happening where the growth is the maximum among all the developing countries in the world, and even being a top 5 countries and the highest of the emerging economy. I think the standard of auditing, expectation of an auditing is far beyond any other country. And I can give you 2 examples why. You know, the mandatory rotation of audit, the only country around the world that has implemented is India, right? And you have 5 + 5 years for rotation. Internal controls, internal financial controls, as it is listed in the Companies Act. The only country in the world which talks about mandatory implementation of internal financial controls and attestation by an auditor, and then you have a detailed CARO report that goes into specifics of line items of different elements of internal controls and the policies and procedures and various elements around governance, is only there in a country like India. Requirement of risk management, again one of those sections in the Companies Act, for the lowest level company, privately held company, like a 50 crore for internal financial controls, is also there is a supporting standard which says that for certain level, like a 50 crore or 100 crores or those kind of value for a turnover base. But for a risk management, it is applicable for all companies, enterprise risk management, and the board has to follow a risk management process. Now, if you look at these expectations, And if you look at CARO, and if you look at the entire standard around internal financial controls, that is only India is a country which has come forward and put regulations around that and having implemented that. Let me also tell you that if you happen to know about the Reserve Bank of India circular on the auditing of banks and non-banking finance companies, where there's a limit of 3 banks and rather 4 banks and about 8 NBFCs. That kind of a rule to enable the development of overall audit profession is only there in a country like India. In the backdrop of all this, therefore, it is important that we realize what is the gold standard of auditing. And I think all the topics that were presented today has a relevance on that. Coming to some of the important aspects, I would also urge all of you at an early on age to go through a speech by our Honorable Prime Minister. Back in the year 2018, when the GST had come in, he was invited by Institute of Chartered Accountants of India on a very, very large gathering, and I think he laid out certain expectations. He laid out certain expectations from the audit profession. And he also gave a visionary idea to our country that while we have largest number of accountants, like the population is the largest, of course the number of accountants are going to be the largest in our country, right? I mean, it's one of the largest producing accounting professionals in the world. And he did say that, look, while you have got this strength, but there's not one large firm that has emerged from India. And I think it's a very, very visionary thought. There are some thoughts that I also have on that. And of course, we are going to cover it as we go. But I would urge all of you to please go through that, because that is also, in a way, laying down some visionary aspects of a gold standard auditing is all about. And most importantly, around coming to the gold standard, there are some elements beyond the presentation that was covered today. And I would want to quickly lay down some very important elements about the overall profession itself when it comes to a standard of gold for auditing and standard of gold for an audit firm. So there are a few very important elements there. Number one is the goodwill and succession. As we see that more and more larger multinational firms are highly successful, not just in our own country, but globally. And we have all kinds of Big 4, Big 6, Big 10, Big 15, Big 20, all these different numbers that are there. Most importantly, what they have managed to do as large important organizations or institutions is to build up a very strong foundation of succession, which to a very large extent is not something that we have developed in a very, very articulate way as far as some of the firms which have been also very reputed as far as our country is concerned. Likewise, when it comes to succession, most important element is, of course, the people who founded the firm. But what about succession, and what about the goodwill that the firm has been created by the founders or by the people, how that calculations work like, and everything has a value. Therefore, every element has to be given a value, including goodwill for an outgoing founder or an outgoing leader. I think that is very important for instrumentally developing a very strong foundation of succession. So that is an important element. All of you guys are youngsters. I would want you to think upon these elements. It's not over yet. Not yet over. I know that I'm in between the lunch and closure, but very quickly. The second important element when it comes to a gold standard auditing is, and some of the topics that were covered today, is investments in technology. I think very importantly, the usage of data analytics, which was covered in one of the sessions, is very, very important. It is not necessary that each of these technologies that can be leveraged are very expensive. Sometimes the license cost would be less than $100. And I think some of those can be leveraged very nicely to really do a job of near about 100% evaluation of sample. Even if not 100%, but quite an extensive sample. So technology investments is another important element. IP, which is intellectual property and know-how, that an audit firm has over a period of time developed, protection of that, maintaining of that, and protection of overall IP for a firm that has done auditing in different industries, I think it is important to take a legal coverage and a legal protection of some of these IP by registering them properly. Not many times we accountants are very good at doing that. The next one is on client confidentiality and security of client information. It's very important that you uphold this, and your entire infrastructure, including your laptop, servers, cloud that you store the information on, is very highly protected. Otherwise, you will compromise big time on client confidentiality, which will be violating of one of the important principles. Next very important element is the capital. And coming back to what our Prime Minister said, for a vision of a gold standard or a very large firm to be coming out of India, the most important element is capital of a firm. And typically we see that many people, while they are making good money, right, in their annual earnings, but not many are even interested in making 1 year's earning to be invested in the firm as capital. And that's a mindset issue. If imagine a firm of 100 partners, and there are many firms today which have more than 100 partners, more than 20 partners, more than 50 partners. But if each of the partners contribute to even, let's say, 50 lakhs, 25 lakhs, or maybe a little more of their capital into the firm, then the capital building in the firm, which is at most important and essential, can lead to building of a very strong foundational firm, which is what one of the things that our Prime Minister said. But alongside that, I think is important is I would also urge upon you to look at the model of development of the profession in last 2 decades alone in China. Because most of the large firms in China have taken the stage of more than $1 billion of audit fees, or more than $1 billion of fees coming in, from some of the top 4, top 5, or top even 10 firms within China. In our country, that's not the case. If you go outside the larger firms, you will straight fall down to almost 5% of the size of the largest firm, when you go outside the top 4 or so. So it is important that capital is properly built up and is applied, and it is also important that the work flows in like the way China has done, by giving subsidies and by giving, whatever technology investments happen, R&D happens, that is very nicely protected by the country's finance policies, that is income tax, etc. And also there is a state policy of awarding the audits and work to some of the largest firms that the country has promulgated, or the country has driven towards as a policy. So I think those things are very relevant for overall development of the profession. And once again, heartiest congratulations to the presenters and all of you. I think it was a wonderful job. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, CA Kartik Radia sir, for sharing these valuable insights with us.
Now let us show our gratitude to CA Kartik Radia sir for investing his invaluable resources for the development of all of us by presenting him with a memento. I would like to invite CA Tarun Dan sir to present CA Kartik Radia sir with a memento as a token of love.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Kashish to give a vote of thanks to CA Kartik Radia, sir.
कभी कभी ऑडिट पढ़ने में यूं ही कुछ अपना सा लगता है, कभी कभी ऑडिट पढ़ने में यूं ही कुछ अपना सा लगता है, लेकिन अगर वो एग्ज़ाम में आ जाए तो एकदम सदमा सा लगता है. A warm greetings to everyone present over here. It's indeed a great honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me start first giving the glory to the Almighty God for making today's occasion a resounding success. On behalf of Vikasa, I would like to extend a hearty vote of thanks to CA Kartik sir. Kartik sir, thank you so much for spare your time to grace this occasion. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts which encouraged us and has shown us a new path. Your words of wisdom have enlightened our minds and have shown us a new path. So guys, have a huge round of applause for one and only CA Kartik sir.